Hi, I'm going to do some drawing for you now. I'm going to be drawing Percival T. Duckcoat from The Accidental Prime Minister. Now, it's a bit tricky, but I'm going to show you what I'm going to be using. I'm going to be using an iPad Pro, and if I'm very lucky and press the right button, there we go. What I can do is I can record the screen so you can see everything that I'm going to be drawing. Here's my piece of paper on different layers. I'm going to be using layer 2. That's going to be my starting point. So yeah, I've got a pencil. Now the way I draw on an iPad is the way I would draw on a kind of any old piece of paper. Using the pencil, starting off, not pressing too hard, building my character using really simple shapes. So we've got a square there. Now it starts off as a sort of circle for a head, but then it goes a bit kind of pear-shaped, literally pear-shaped, because it's got one of those kind of big wobbly faces where it all sinks to the bottom under those many chins. So we go for a circle into a bit of a kind of pear or egg-shaped. Then we're gonna do a couple more rectangles for its little short legs. There we go, that could be his little feet pointing outwards. Let's do hands on hips. So he's going to be shouting, being very grumpy. So I'm going to draw some little hands first. That might seem a bit weird, but then I can kind of match up the arms with the hands. Put a little triangle underneath his head. That's going to be his suit. There we go. So, just using the pencil, just kind of throwing down a few ideas, seeing what I like, what I don't like. I'm gonna go over the top of it with some pen, like a really nice scribbly pen. So about that line, like that. Get rid of anything I don't want, and then I'm gonna go over the top of it with watercolour. So let's do a little line like that and a line like that. Those are going to be like where his eyes and nose are going to go. So he's got a bit of a wobbly nose like that, and his eyes are kind of like that. Let's do some very grumpy eyebrows, and he's got very sort of saggy eyes, big baggy eyes like that. There we are. He's got quite a good face. A bit weird, but quite good. Let's have him being grumpy, shall we? Rather than a smiling face, let's have him being grumpy like that. There we go, and little ears like that. So that's kind of my basic, really simple shape. Square with a kind of pear on top and some rectangles. Now what I can do is I can make that pencil layer almost invisible by moving that little slider along. So it means that I can use it as a guide, but I'm not sort of tracing over the top of it. Which is really good. I mean, having all this on an iPad is really good, but it's a bit like just putting tracing paper over your drawing. You don't need an iPad to be an Illustrator. I use it because I like it, it's very useful, but it is just a piece of paper. Whether it exists in a sketchbook, I still do lots of drawing on sketchbooks, whether it exists in a computer, it's just a blank piece of paper. It's what you kind of do with it that's important. So I don't want you going home going to your mum and dad's, you need to get me a really expensive iPad, otherwise I can't draw, because that's not true. There you go. So I'm using a pen now, a kind of splittery, splottery pen. I used to use these all the time. Before I was a children's author, I was a cartoonist. So I used to work for a newspaper, and I would have to draw cartoons whenever politicians and prime ministers ever did anything really daft or silly, which you will know that happens quite a lot. So I'm used to I like this style. It's a nice kind of style to work in. Splittery, splottery pen. And it if I make a mistake, I'll go with the line. Kind of doesn't matter. It sort of just adds to the drawing. Doesn't have to be too neat. And if there is anything I don't like, I can just rub it out. Let's do the nose. There we go. Yeah, I'm not using, like I say, the pencil to draw everything exactly. I'm just using it kind of as a guide. So any bits I don't like, I can change. Let's do some thick line down here to kind of show like all the kind of folds of skin. Many, many chins. Let's do some very hairy, grumpy eyebrows. Yeah, it's not looking too bad. I'm always kind of forever sort of zooming in and out of my drawings. Sometimes you can, if you're doing lots of details, sometimes you kind of miss stuff. So zooming out is a really good way of just taking a step back and looking at your drawing. So if you're using a piece of paper or a sketchbook, then just standing back from it is really, really useful. You can kind of go, oh yeah, that's not quite right, or oh, I can change that. I'm just going to use the pen to do sort of lots of sort of wispy hair going off. Maybe I'll get rid of a bit of that. Sort of goes out at the bottom and then kind of comes back in at the top. And then a few little spots. Let's have a look at those hands. And this side. Hands on hips, being very grumpy. Let's start to draw the trousers. How many time? I've got 7 minutes gone. Normally I don't draw this quickly when I'm drawing my characters, but normally take my time a little bit. But I don't want to run out of time so you can't see what I'm drawing. It's not looking too bad. I might even get rid of that pencil layer altogether. Zoom out. See if there's anything I don't like. Erase some of those lines on here. Might change that line on the side of his head so you can get some more of his face in. Let's make this hair a little bit wispier. Looking too bad. Floating off the top of his head. His eyes a little bit heavier. Let's add more bags under them. Yeah, not looking too bad at all. Now we can start to think about adding some shade. So I'm just going to use this as a watercolour. We can start to paint over the top. Bit of a shadow underneath. Because this is on a separate layer, if I want to erase any of it, then it's easy. I'm not going to erase the pen when I do it. just kind of blotting it in at the minute. Shadow underneath on his nose. I can imagine he's got a big bulbous nose, has he, like a cherry on a disgusting trifle. Shade it on the hair. I've got a nice thin brush here that I can use to kind of go back to the thicker brush. Let's have a look. Let's colour in the suit a little bit more. Oops, that's the eraser. So let's undo that bit. Let's try again. That's better. Make it dark down one side. There we go. Don't want to run out of time, so a few more little bits of shading here and there. Maybe let's colour in that tie. Stripy tie. Like that. Bit of a shadow down there still. I think we're almost done. What we can use is the eraser tool. Use a little pencil eraser tool to get rid of any bits I don't want. A few little stripes down there, maybe on the collar, maybe just on the side of that face, maybe on the wispy hair. Let's get a big shiny highlight on that nose. There we go. You could even make his suit a little bit stripy. What I like to always do is I always like to put a little shadow underneath my drawings because it helps helps them stand out on the page. So just do a little pinstripe down there. Not too worried about that. This can also act as shading in the shoes as well. Shade in the shoes on there, maybe a little turn up on it. There we go. And there we are. Percival T. Duckhome as drawn from a square and a bit of a pear shaped and a few rectangles. And that is how I build my characters. I hope you enjoyed that and happy drawing, kids.